Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Much of Alberta experienced a cold, wet, long weekend, but unfortunately this did not extend to the Fort McMurray area. The southern edge of the fire received between 3 and 5 millimeters of precipitation this weekend. The northern edge of the fire, where it is burning most actively, received none. There is also no significant precipitation in the forecast in the next couple of days. Mr. Speaker, there were 40 new wildfire starts yesterday. What's concerning is that most of these were due to campfires that were abandoned. There are 17 active wildfires burning in Alberta right now, 1 out of control, that being the Fort McMurray fire, 1 being held, the Peace River Clear Hills fire, 14 under control, including the Lac La Biche fire, and 1 turned over to the local authorities. Overall, Mr. Speaker, right now we have more resources working on the Fort McMurray fire, which continues to burn out of control, and fewer in other parts of the province where the risk has gone down. With the cooler weather, and as firefighters contain more perimeter of the Fort McMurray fire, we can now safely deploy more firefighters on the ground, which is beginning to happen. Now that it is safe, around 1,000 more firefighters should be on the ground in the next 2 weeks from across Canada, the U.S., and South Africa, and we welcome these well-trained firefighters to come to our aid. While fire risk has fallen in most parts of the province, it remains high to extreme in Fort McMurray. Suppression efforts will be a challenge today. Air quality also remains a concern in the region. As of 11 o'clock this morning, air quality was 5. And the fire has experienced some growth since we were last together, primarily along the northern perimeter. It is now approximately 522,892 hectares. Mandatory evacuations continue to be in place for Fort McMurray, Anzac, Fort McKay, Fort McMurray First Nation, and Gregoire Lake Estates. The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo has allowed a phased re-entry to all oil sand sites, subject to environment and public health inspections. Re-entry of workers to these sites is subject to similar criteria as for residents of Fort McMurray. One is that wildfire is no longer an imminent threat and that air quality is within reasonable levels. The industrial sites have their own rigorous guidelines according to approved occupational health and safety for their sites. Currently, they are assessing conditions and working with the province and the regional municipality to prepare for the re-entry of workers once their own re-entry conditions are met. Efforts to support the re-entry of residents beginning June 1st continue. Restoration of the hospital cleanup resumed on Sunday, and the Mobile Urgent Care Centre now has an operating room, an anesthesiologist, an obstetrician capable of surgery, and a general surgeon. This centre is available to anyone in the Fort McMurray region, including first responders, restoration workers, and when the time comes, Mr. Speaker, to returning evacuees, while the hospital restoration work continues. Progress is being made on safe drinking water, but a boil water advisory remains in effect until the lines can be flushed, reservoirs are cleaned, and sampling confirms water quality. Water quality sampling equipment is being installed in the Athabasca and Clearwater rivers. Electricity service has been restored to more than 90% of the community, including outlying areas like Anzac and Fort McMurray First Nation. Natural gas has been restored up to more than 99% of homes outside Abasand, Waterways, and Beacon Hill. A re-entry information booklet has been posted on the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo website. It contains valuable information and tip sheets on things to bring with you when returning to Fort McMurray, safety precautions, how to safely clean up after a wildfire, and how to prevent mold. We are still on track for a voluntary phased re-entry beginning June 1st, but I remind all Wood Buffalo residents that all services will not be fully operational by then. Some people, as a result, may choose to wait. Others may want to come back just to collect belongings, survey the damage, and seek some closure if they've lost their homes before returning to their temporary accommodations. For those who have an existing health condition, particularly a respiratory condition, or are pregnant, they should wait to return until medical professionals advise it is safe to do so. While recovery work is proceeding, we continue to support the evacuees. Mr. Speaker, as of today, the debit card distribution moves to Alberta Works offices in 13 communities. There's the Grand Prairie office, Lac La Biche office, 4 offices in Edmonton, 1 in Red Deer, 4 in Calgary, and also the Alberta Works offices in Medicine Hat and Lethbridge. As always, anyone with questions, especially those outside of those communities, can call 310-4455 for more information. As of last night, 35,797 debit cards were distributed to 73,395 people for a total distribution of $76.4 million. We continue to receive questions about how evacuees who have left Alberta can get their debit cards. We need to do so in a secure fashion so that the right funds are provided to the people who need it. At the distribution centres, and as of today at the select Alberta Works offices, evacuees present proper identification in person, which makes verification easier and efficient. We are looking at options to ensure a similar level of verification for out-of-province evacuees and hope to have something in place soon. Please keep in mind there is no cutoff date for evacuees to get their debit cards in person. If you qualify, you will get it, and debit cards will be available when evacuees return to Alberta. Mr. Speaker, we are also continuing our outreach efforts to ensure evacuees have the information they need. The telephone town halls we've held to date have attracted around 10,000 participants or more each night, so we will continue to hold them while the demand is there. This week they will be tonight, Wednesday and Thursday night, and I look forward to answering the questions of the evacuees all 3 of those nights. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.